You were arrested. Mary, how did you feel?
By that time, I knew that I could be held responsible, and I was believing and hoping that I could get through another month of school and put in for my maternity leave and retire. I thought if they did an investigation, they would see what happened, and I'm sure that I would have, you know, a penalty of some sort. I was imagining there's probably some community service hours for situations like this, and I actually didn't think that I needed an attorney even.
But Mary did need an attorney. She was charged with raping a child, a felony that carried a 7.5-year prison sentence in the state of Washington. Mary was advised to accept a settlement with reduced prison time, and she pleaded guilty. At her sentencing hearing, she apologized to the court in an emotional plea for leniency.
I did something that I had no right to do, morally or legally. It was wrong, and I am sorry. Please, please help me. Help us all.
Mary was sentenced to serve 6 months in jail. The rest of the 7.5 years suspended, as long as she agreed to attend psychiatric counseling and stay away from Billy, who had just become the father of her 5th child, a baby girl.
Mary, you were told when you got out to stay away from Billy. Why didn't you?
I was told by the counselor that was in charge in a little booth at the jail with a piece of glass between us that I would not have any contact with my children.
When you got out?
From the time I got out, for a minimum of 6 months, no contact.
To attend psychiatric counseling and stay away from Billy, who had just become the father of her 5th child, a baby girl.
Mary, you were told when you got out to stay away from Billy. Why didn't you?
I was told by the counselor that was in charge in a little booth at the jail with a piece of glass between us that I would not have any contact with my children.
When you got out?
From the time I got out, for a minimum of 6 months, no contact with my children. Not a birthday card, not a present, not a phone call, no contact.
You had not been told that before?
Oh, no. And at that very moment, I decided that I will go to prison so that I can pick up the phone and say, I love you, to my children. There was no deterrent for me not to see Billy Falau. He was the father of my newborn. We loved each other, and the worst that could happen was that I would go to prison, which I was going to anyway.
You didn't mind serving 7 more years?
I didn't believe it was going to be that long. I thought maybe a year.
I don't think people know this. This is the first time I've heard this. I mean, they think you were told, stay away from Billy, and you said, I can't, and you went back into the relationship and jeopardized things.
Well, that's the way it was presented by the prosecution to the court. And I haven't had an opportunity to ever tell anyone.
Thinking she could fight her case from prison, Mary figured she had nothing to lose, and as soon as she was released from jail, she resumed her relationship with Billy. A month later, they were caught by the police at 3 o'clock in the morning, parked in her car on a quiet street corner, just 1 block from her home. Mary was arrested a second time and ordered by the court to serve out the rest of her sentence.
The original sentence that I imposed not long ago of 89 months is imposed.
But there was another bombshell. Mary was pregnant again with Billy's second child, another girl. Her life had now hit rock bottom. She was being led away in handcuffs, ridiculed by the tabloids. Her new baby would be born in prison, and her husband would soon file for divorce and move their 4 children to Alaska.
When you were in prison, your children were now growing up without a mother. How did you feel about that?
Well, prison is not a safe place to touch emotions. There's not a lot of support there for that. And something as deep as the pain that my children went through, I'm afraid to touch that pain. They still go to sleep at night and their mother's not there.
How did you get through it?
Well, I lived through it by not touching the pain.
When 2020 returns,
You've been called a child molester and a pedophile. You've suffered, your children have suffered, your whole family has suffered. Mary, was it worth it?
next. And having his babies. But is she out of his life?
Do you plan to marry Billy?
When 2020 continues, after this from our ABC stations.
"7 years in prison, doing time for her love affair with 13-year-old Billy Falau. She worked in the kitchen, taught other inmates, helped in the law library, and sang in the prison choir. She was also able to have visits from her 4 older children and her 2 baby girls by Billy, who are now being raised by his mother. But she was not allowed to have any contact with Billy. Finally, on August 4th, Mary completed her sentence and was released from prison. Billy is now 21 and legally an adult, and the courts granted his request to see Mary.
You've only been out of prison about a month. How long after you got out of prison were you in contact with Billy?
Oh,
A day, a week?
not too many hours after the no contact
too many
order
hours.
was lifted.
Did he call you or did you call him?
I waited for him to call me.
Have you been intimate with Billy?
Well, what we most like about this part of our life right now is that it's nobody's business.
I accept that. Mary, what does he give you?
When you share the same perspective on life with someone and intellectually you have that closeness, emotionally you have it, I can't imagine traveling and seeing something without him, learning together, being with him, supporting him for what he would like to do in this life.
You are now how old?
I'm 42.
Billy is 21.
Mm-hmm.
Does this age difference bother you at all?
I'm sure we both wish that we were closer in age so that we would, with more certainty, know that we would have the longest time possible together with each other.
And then we asked Mary the #1 question.
Do you plan to marry Billy?
We've always planned that and it hasn't changed.
When are you going to get married?
Oh, that has not been decided.
Would you like to have more children with Billy?
Well, I'm healthy enough.
I have to ask you this, Mary, because I don't want to read about it in another tabloid. Are you pregnant now?
Oh, no.
Your two little girls are being raised by Billy's mother. Will you try to get custody of these children?
I would never do anything without considering what is best for our children. I have so much respect for Billy's mother for taking the children and raising them. I know the love that our children have for her, and as a family we need to come together and do what's best for our little girls. What's realistic is a shared custody.
Your older children have visited you in prison. Are you hoping that you can have a close relationship, that you can rebuild that part of your life?
I have a very close relationship with my 4 children from my marriage. Very, very close. We've always been in a process, a healing process, and this is a new part of that healing process. And however I can be in their life, I am there, and I will always be there.
What is it like for you?
So for now, Mary Kay Letourneau's future is in limbo. She hopes to launch a new career, possibly in legal research. Mary wants to help Billy become a professional artist, and she wants the world to understand the scandal that has changed her life forever.
You know, Mary, I sit here and I look at you. And then I know that you had to register as a sex offender, that photographs of you have been sent to thousands of homes describing you as a risk to the community. You've been called a child molester, a pedophile.
I've been called those things by people that don't know me, don't know the situation. And I don't blame them for the little bits that they heard, how it was represented. It was a misrepresentation.
Are you a risk to the community?
Anyone that knows me even a little bit would say absolutely not. No, it's just, there's no concern at all.
You've suffered, your children have suffered, your whole family has suffered. Did you realize that any of this would happen?
Not even a little bit.
Mary, was it worth it?
I remember as the elevator closed, right after I was sentenced to serve out the 7.5 years, there was a reporter as the elevator was closing. She said, "Mary, was it worth it?" And the doors closed on it. And here's the question again.
Can you answer it?
I don't look at life that way. I do my best. So if you asked me that question, did you do your best through every situation? I can say I did my best. I did. I did do my best.
Wow. So, is she now living with Billy?
I know she's living in Seattle, as we said, but she's staying with friends while she sorts out her life and her job situation. As for Billy Falau, he is 21 and unemployed.
And you got to meet him? What are they like together?
Well, I did meet him because Mary wanted me to. They still seem to me to have something of a teacher-student relationship. She held his hand and tried to encourage him to put his best foot forward.
Teacher and student forever?
Well, I don't know, but they do intend to go forward together.
We'll be right back.